BJP's big promise, the Citizenship Amendment Act, has been implemented in India starting today, after the Ministry of Home Affairs notified the rules a few hours ago. In fact, hours after the announcement, flag marches were held in Delhi's Shaheen Bagh that had seen strong protests in 2019, as well as in Lucknow. Anti-CAA protests have emerged Jamia Millia Islamia as well as Assam. Meanwhile, visuals of celebrations have also emerged from West Bengal, Delhi among others. Kerala Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan has claimed that the state will not implement the CAA, calling the act divisive and polarizing. West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee has called CAA a publicity move by the BJP for elections, questioning why was it not notified earlier. AIMIM Chief Asaduddin Owaisi has said CAA is divisive and meant to target Muslims. NCP's Clyde Crasto has claimed this is BJP's bid to take away attention from the electoral bonds issue that has emerged as a huge embarrassment for the BJP government after what happened in the Supreme Court even today. Now, what is CAA? Here's what the government claims. It's a set of rules affecting citizenships. However, Amit Shah, the ET Now conclave, has said that it won't take away anyone's citizenship, claiming CAA was a promise made by the Congress government. Now, Congress is backtracking from its promise. The government has claimed that the CAA is a shield for religious persecution victims, particularly from neighboring countries, and it doesn't revoke citizenship. The CAA was passed in Parliament in December 2019 and was implemented today. The timing has been questioned by several political parties. It's also important to understand the CAA in the context of the National Register of Citizens, or the NRC, and which is implemented in Assam but not the rest of India, and the creation of NPR, which is a National Population Registry database, which began first in 2010 but was abandoned eventually. I'm being joined by Dr. Avra Sen, who's a spokesperson for BJP, Nilesh Tribhuvan, who's a senior lawyer, Kamruzzaman Chowdhury, a political analyst, Dr. Thongolal Hokip, former journalist and assistant professor for the Center for the Study of Law and Governance, as well as Aditya Pratap, who's an advocate. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining me. Well, first, to try and understand the contours of what's really happened, let me just go over to Kamruzzaman Chowdhury at this point. Kamruzzaman, the opposition is saying that they will not implement this. And the Kerala Chief Minister has right now given a statement saying he will not implement this in Kerala. It is divisive. The other opposition leaders, at least some who have already reacted, are also affirming that they think this is divisive but will not be implemented in the way that CAA or the centre would want to see it. How do you look at this?
Yeah, Sneha, good evening first and foremost. Actually, let me first give a caveat out here. I am in favor of according citizenship whoever was born in India. That's my first caveat. Now, coming to the main topic of the CAA, why I call it as a political move by the Bharatiya Janata Party. You see, let me cite an example of the NRC exercise that was conducted in Assam, wherein the legacy data of 1951 was used to establish the linkages, the parental linkages to establish one citizenship, out of which 20 lakh people have been caught without proper documents to be proving to claim that they were Indian citizens by birth or by acquisition. Now, what happened out here is that though we don't know the exact division based on the demography, but still then there is a what you call this, an untold data going around in Assam that majority of those who did not pass the NRC were Hindus out here. Now, why I call this CAA discriminatory out here is that now what you are doing, out of the 20 lakh people who have been caught without their proper documents, you have singled out the Hindus to provide them the citizenship of India. And now this population of the minorities that have been caught out there, they are basically going into a nationless citizenship. They don't have any citizenship out. Now, second point that is here, very important out here, is when you claim that you are providing citizenship to the persecuted Hindus, Christians, Buddhists, or XYZ, leaving aside the Muslim population. Now, do you know, Sneha, how much is the population of Hindus, Bengali Hindus in Bangladesh? It is approximately 1.5 crores. And they are living out there since independence, since 1971. They have been living out here since 1947. Also, they are staying out there. What the CA aims to achieve is victimizing this huge population of Hindus living in Bangladesh, because we all know Bangladesh is more or less a theocratic state which does not have religious tolerance like India has. But then ultimately these people will try to go for greener pastures. Now let me finish just a few seconds more. You are in fact inviting this 1.5 crore to come and change the demography of India. That's why the Assam Students Union is opposing it. That's why various political parties of Assam are opposing it. You have notified these rules by saying that we will not implement in the 6 scheduled states. We will not implement them on the inner line permit states.
All right, let me just get in others as well, sir.
But then this is, Sneha, this is a simple discriminatory thing made for election gimmicking. In Bengal also, while you are providing the citizenship to the Matuas, the Rajbangshis are opposing it. In Tripura, the tribals are opposing it. Now, it doesn't make any sense, because anybody born in India needs to have a citizen.
Dr. Avra Sen, right, let me just get in others as well. So you've made some very important points. Dr. Avra Sen, I want you to respond to this for two reasons. One, you are not only from the BJP, but also this whole issue of CAA is playing out very differently in the Northeast. There are concerns in rest of India as well. But the contours of this playing out in the Northeast are very different. And what you heard right now, Mr. Chowdhury speak, is very much reflective of that.
First of all, I would like to place some data on the table. It was back in 2015. I'm having the data with me right now. It was back in 2015, as I was saying, that Congress has urged the central government to give citizenship to the Bangladeshi Hindus who were persecuted for religious purposes in Bangladesh. Again, it was back in 2018 where Congress promised to give citizenship to the minorities persecuted for their religious identity in Pakistan. This was back in 2018.
That's on
record. And if I go back to 2012, it was Kozhikode resolution of CPIM, a leftist organization, where they categorically said that the central government should give assurance that the religious persecuted minorities from the states or from the nations around India would get citizenship in India. This has been the stand of various political parties in the past. Also, I would like to quote something from the Parliament's records. I'm quoting, "Our duty to those who will be in peril in East Bengal will be to protect them in their own country and to give them shelter in our own country if there is no other way and the situation so demands." This is the words of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. It was back in 15th November 1950. He said this in the parliament. Come on, what have we done? We have not stripped the citizenship of any person of India. We have used the constitutional right of the central government. We have passed a law, CAA, which gives citizenship to the religious minorities who are persecuted in 3 specific theocratic nations, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. They are not just Hindus, there are Sikhs, Christians, Jains, and any other minority religion. Everybody who comprise of these religious identities, if they are feeling persecuted in those countries,
even as you're making these points, and it's absolutely established politically as well as in records that there have been time and again these demands that have been coming from several political parties, including those who are in opposition right now. That's a given. That's on the record.
I would just like to add,
concerns at this point.
No person allow me to get Indian would lose his or her citizenship due to CAA. This act is meant to give citizenship
no,
to
that's
people
where
who
Mr.
live in
Chaudhary
those
is
theocratic
bringing in
countries.
certain important concerns that need to be addressed to, and sadly possibly haven't been addressed because this is coming again and again. And as I mentioned, Northeast seems to have a very peculiar contour of how this is implementing and the fears of how discrimination may really be seeped in. But let me just go over to Aditya Pratap at this time. I will get back to you. I will get
just one line. The NRC in Assam was implemented as per the Supreme Court judgment, and it was as per the Assam Accord. So don't mix up things, I would say the previous panelist.
No, I mean, it's hard to say don't mix up. It's very hard to even establish that the three of them will not have any links, and perhaps that's one of the explanations that we'll have to get into this show to see whether there is any link, because the CAA is also within the 1955 Act. NRC and NPR are also. So is there any direct? Mr. Chaudhary, I will come back to you. Please allow me. Aditya Pratap, how would you look at this, considering how both the BJP as well as Mr. Chaudhary have argued over this? What would you see are the major concerns?
Well, first and foremost, clearly, is, we have to see how the question is simple. These CAA rules, which have been notified by the government, how they would stand the test of judicial scrutiny here, because what the government has said is that it is meant to provide citizenship to the oppressed minorities, but somehow it makes an exclusion for Muslims. Now, the point is that what is the nature of granting citizenship to a foreign person? Like today, if you're a citizen of India, you can probably claim, you can claim all the constitutional protection of rights, etc. Now, if a person from abroad comes to India and claims, the point is simple. If you look at the history of the countries around India, oppressed minorities are from, the other religions also. You cannot say that people who don't belong to this religion do not form part of the oppressed minority, because any person who is oppressed, who has faced oppression, who has faced suffering, he would be able to, to essentially come and seek the benefits of citizenship or asylum. So I do feel that, and plus one more thing, if you look at the tone and tenor of the government's announcement, is that the person who has come, like it's like the government has, people will say that the government has timed the announcement with the election. It's like, it's like too much in the face of it. It's like too ostensibly pro-election sort of, it's like the timing, and plus like as part of the okay, it might be a populist move, it might be an electoral promise, whatever. But the point is, let us see how these rules, which are notified by the government ostensibly to bring the act into operation, how well they will stand the scrutiny of the law.
So are you saying this is not going to stand the test of the court? Because they have gone ahead and told in the court very clearly, they've made their stance, it's gone ahead and been passed in the parliament. Are you then saying that it's not going to stand the test in the court if it comes up again?
No, I mean, I said it may have an uphill time, because the principles of constitutionality, equality, and other things, they run a little deeper than many of the people who in power appreciate.
Okay, Nilesh Tribhuvan, is there a link between the Citizenship Act of 1955, which is the overarching act, the CAA, the NRC, and the NPR?
Acts are connected. So, as you are rightly mentioned that, the CAA and the previous act. So, do you want me to give you a differentiation for the audience? So, let me just congratulate everybody for the CAA first. So, in the earlier act, there are certain provisions which everybody is aware now from 11 years. Now, it has been 5 years for certain particular category, which the Section 2 has been modified. Only the Section 2 has been modified only to a limited extent for Hindu, Buddhist, Jain, Parsi, and Christian who are illegal migrants. So for them, from 11 years to 5 years, the relaxation has been given. In the earlier act, it was for 11 years. Now for the Muslims, it is not something that for illegal immigrant Muslim, there is no provision for them to come to India and seek an asylum or seek a citizenship in India. So there is a provision which exists in the earlier laws. So they will have to only go by the earlier laws and not by the new laws. That's the only differentiation. So I don't think so. It is such a major issue that we have excluded one particular category and certain benefits are being given to a particular sect of community. Sorry, you're saying something? Yeah.
No, you know, Nilesh, what is interesting in what you are saying? So, if the original act does give a certain providence, does give certain provisions, then an act which is supposed to give refuge to persecuted minorities, why not include Muslims also in that, as has been claimed earlier? Whether they are in the neighboring countries or elsewhere, how does it matter? I mean, if they want to come, they come. If they're not persecuted minorities, they don't get under it anyway. So what's the point?
Of course,
What's the point of excluding that? Isn't that basis then discriminatory?
I'll tell you, there is a history to it. We'll have to see the history. Why, in the first place, there was a partition in India. The partition has happened on the basis of the religion itself. And that's the reason Hindu-Muslim could not stay together. That's the basic reason the partition has happened. We cannot deny to that particular fact. And the biggest enemy for us as on today is Pakistan and the rest of the countries.
No, but I'm sure this whole act is not only about Pakistan.
So Pakistan, Bangladesh, and the neighboring countries which we are talking about, Afghanistan. So all these three countries, what we are talking about, they are not a friendly nation to India at the moment. And considering the majority of them are Muslims, the Muslims' ideology cannot be accepted in India. This is a given fact. There is no exception. There is an exception for them. If they want to seek citizenship in India, they'll have to wait for 11 years. There are certain tests they may have to go through. There is character certificate. They'll have to say so that there are no prosecution against them. There are certain in Schedule 3. There are certain parameters which are given. They'll have to pass through the test of that, and then only they'll be able to give it. They'll get the citizenship.
Okay, I have to get to Kamruzzaman Chowdhury to respond to what you are saying. But before that, I have Dr. Thongolpal Haukip who's joining us right now. Dr. Haukip, with the CAA being implemented right now, are there any particular concerns as immediate reactions or anything that would be welcoming this over the last few hours since this order since the CAA has become a reality? It was known that it would happen before the Lok Sabha elections. But over the last few hours, anything that would have emerged?
Sneha, I would firstly ignore the timing of the implementation of CAA, and secondly, I would deviate a little bit from the general criticism of CAA that is being discriminative. So I would like to critically look the CAA into two angles from being selective. Firstly, it's about geography. India is a civilizational, land, and it has historical context with its neighbors, not only in South Asia. We have Myanmar, we have Southeast Asia, we have China. So during the colonial rule, people are scattered in this, British Empire, especially in Burma. So the other question is why, why should you grant citizenship to certain people only on religious ground? There are people in Myanmar and maybe in other places who are persecuted ethnically also. Because if you look into the present crisis in Myanmar, there are people of Indian origin who are, wandering, who have difficulties during this junta rule. So on two grounds, I would like to look for being selective that, you have to cover, other areas also in the neighbors. Secondly, you could also include, apart from being, religious persecution, there are ethnic and other persecutions happening in Indian neighborhood. So all this, can be included in this act and being more inclusive. And secondly, as per Section 3 of the CAA, you could find that the tribal areas in Northeast, including Assam, have been included from the CAA. And Manipur has been included in the inner line regulation in December 2019. And you would see that as per this CAA, people from Bangladesh and other places could not be, could not be given citizenship in such territories. So, if you look into the history of Manipur, 200 years ago, due to the Burmese invasion, many Manipuris fled to Silchar, Tripura, to present-day Sylhet. There are many Manipuri population in Bangladesh now
So
who wouldn't be
how does this
able
affect
to
them?
avail this
Are you saying this
citizenship.
affects
So
them?
we have
How
to
does
look
this
into
affect
all
them
these
then?
concerns also. Yes, definitely. The CAA does not include certain, it does not look into the minutes of the people of Manipur and other places where they could be, of course, the people may be, Manipuri people may be in Bangladesh, but historically they have migrated 200 years ago and they would like to come back also. And that kind of provision is not there
Okay.
because of this, what so-called
Okay.
inner land regulation.
Okay. All right. Kamruzzaman Chowdhury, do you want to respond to what Nilesh Tribhuvan was saying, that this law isn't discriminatory in the sense that the original overarching Citizenship Act does have constituents or sections that can be used for even the persecuted Muslims or Muslims who want citizenship. So he is saying if that is there, why, I mean, the CAA not having it, he doesn't see a problem with that. How would you see that?
No, this is the ignorance of a lot of Indians. There is a misconception that the government wants to spread, and many people are believing that the CA is not discriminatory because it does not want to take away anybody's citizenship, but rather it is for giving citizenship. Now, my simple question I gave you in the earlier briefing that about the 20 lakh people who were accorded stateless during the NRC exercise. Now, what have you done out there? There are people, Sneha, who do not have any documents right from their birth. Our documentation, basically, we were aware of a documentation maybe right from 80s or 90s like this in India. People did not have any documents. Now, if somebody asks me as an Indian Muslim, can you show me your legacy data from 1951, 1971, 2014? Yes, I will be able to show it for 2014, maybe. Now, what happened is that when we claim that Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that means India is home to all people and it is a home, universal home. Now, do you want my India to become a Dharamshala? When we speak about the brotherhood of Muslims and we criticize them, that anything happening somewhere, maybe in Palestine, and the Muslims are standing for the Muslims in Palestine, the same way when Hindus are persecuted in Leicester, in United Kingdom, or in Australia or in Canada, then Hindus are standing up for them. Now, why didn't we make it a secular law? That is the biggest problem. Because you can quantify the number of Hindus out there, you bring them in, or you give them citizenship. There are hardly 100 people, Hindus, in Afghanistan. There are around 1.5 lakh people in Pakistan. Bring them in. And regarding Bangladesh, those who are unaware of the Radcliffe line or the plebiscite of Sylhet district will try to bring out all these confusions in the public domain. You just wait and see. I hope this time the CA will not create a social disturbances in India, but in Assam it has already started. God forbid anything happens like an agitation we have seen in 2020. But the simple reason, Sneha, Amit Shah brought this act to polarize the voters of India prior to 2024. Simple reason, 2019 the laws were brought in. Why it took 4.5 years for them to notify the laws? A simple question is there in everybody's mind.
Before
You disenfranchise the people
okay, before I go to Avra Sen,
who have to claim that we are not Indian citizens.
okay, before
then
I go
they
to
lose
Dr.
their right
Avra
to
Sen,
vote.
before I go to Dr. Avra Sen, Mr. Chowdhury, one question, and this is important. I need to hear it from you. I also asked this the same question to Nilesh as well. Now, NRC, if you look at what the status for NRC is, it's implemented in Assam but not rest of India. NPR as an exercise has been abandoned for now, or postponed, or whatever we wish to call it. Is there a CAA link to this? Is there a link? I mean, are these CAA and NPR, NCC separate, or is there a link to all of these?
Yeah, I have cited this example maybe 2 times already in your show. 20 lakh people lost their citizenship because they were caught up in the NRC, out of which a sizable Hindu population, though I'm not able to quantify the exact number, have been accorded Indian citizenship because of the CAA. Now the rest Muslims have been
And
accorded
you are saying the
stateless in
others
Assam.
haven't been.
Others haven't been. Now let's see, NPR is being carried out all over India. I'm asked for a document which I don't have. Maybe my house burned, maybe my floods, during the floods, my entire documents got washed away, or I did not keep it. Now, am I a Bangladeshi? Am I a Pakistani? Now, who will prove? A district level
Now,
judge
let me
or
get
a
in, Dr.
secretary?
Sen, and I'm sorry I asked you this question all over again, Mr. Chowdhury, but there was for a reason, because I wanted to bring these two answers together before I went to Mr. Avra Sen. Dr. Avra Sen, you are hearing what Mr. Chowdhury is saying. Before I ask you the question of what's with the timing, why now? Of course, it's open that it is election point for the BJP, because it's not minced its words about it. This has been its promise. It has brought it to the fore now, before the Model Code of Conduct comes into being. That's fine. But listen to what Mr. Chowdhury is saying, the way he's raising the concerns, also bringing it about those who lost out as part of the NRC, how a majority of Hindus have been able to get back their citizenship, but the others haven't. So when you look at the current CAA, his concerns are this is going to pan out exactly the same way.
See, I strongly oppose the endeavor of spreading misinformation by Mr. Chaudhary, with due respect to him, but I strongly oppose his endeavor to spread misinformation. I repeat.
Why do you call this misinformation? That's also important.
Please let me complete. Please let me complete. Please let me complete.
Yes.
You have asked me a question.
Yes, certainly. Go ahead.
I would cite the example of Indira Gandhi, who gave citizenship to Hindus coming from Uganda. Also, I would like to cite the example of Rajiv Gandhi, who gave citizenship of India to Tamilians who came over to our country from Sri Lanka. Come on, the constitution gives right to the central government to give citizenship to whoever it wants. And now, when it comes to the question of CAA, there is a clear rationale to who are the people who are being given citizenship. Come on, is this a joke? Afghanistan, Pakistan, Bangladesh, they are
Dr. Avra Sen, you said misinformation. You said misinformation.
No,
Can you give us?
Finish, please,
I have barely a minute left for you. Can you give me example? I am letting you also know we are short on time. If you can come to the crux of the matter of how it is misinformation, it's important for viewers.
I'll tell you.
Yes.
Give me 10 seconds, uninterrupted 10 to 15 seconds, I'll explain. Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, these are theocratic nations. These are Islamic countries. Come on, is this a joke when a panelist or anyone for that matter says Muslim people would be religiously persecuted in a Muslim nation, in an Islamic nation? And when it comes to the question of data, I am giving you specific data from the census of Bangladesh. There was 11% Hindu population in the last census, but in the latest census, the number has decreased by 4 to 5%. Religious minorities are being persecuted in these nations, and since we are a secular nation, it is our duty to give protection to these religiously persecuted people. And that was our commitment, and we have stood up to our commitment, and we'll do that again and again. Whatever our commitment, we'll stand
I
up
just
to
have
that.
30 seconds
No
because I'd asked Nilesh. All right, Mr. Sen.
No state
Okay,
in
Dr.
India
Sen, you've
has
made
the
your point.
legal
You've made your point. I gave you
jurisdiction
far
to
beyond.
negate
I gave you almost a minute.
CAA is
Let me just allow a last
implemented
question.
all over India.
Because I'd already asked Nilesh 2 questions. Aditya, your question to you. Today, even as Kerala has said it will not implement the CAA constitutionally, do the states have the right to do that?
No, no one has the right. It's unconstitutional. Everybody has to listen.
Because
allow Aditya Pratap to answer, Dr. Sen.
Sure.
Ultimately, the point is that it is a central legislation and deals with the issue of citizenship. Clearly, states do not have the right and on power to decide who can be a citizen, who cannot be a citizen. We have the Foreigners Registration Act, in which the states have set up an administrative mechanism to register foreigners and other things. So procedurally, foreigner-related laws, states can take action, but the substantive right, whether to confer citizen or not, that is something which only the union can do, and that is why when we see from a constitutional perspective,
so
Kerala
Nilesh,
on its own
essentially
accord,
this means what Aditya is saying, states may politically take their stand that they are not going to implement it. Legally, there's not much they can do about it. Is that what it is?
Yeah, exactly.
They're constitutionally bound.
Yes, and legally, citizenship is not the the substantive, conferring the substantive right of citizenship is not the prerogative of the whims and fancies of any particular state government.
Okay. All right. We're totally out of time. We're totally out of time. Thank you very much, all five of you, for joining me. It's been a very important discussion with important perspectives. Dr. Avra Sen, Nilesh Tribhuvan, Kamruzzaman Chowdhury, Dr. Haukip. Thank you very much, as well as Aditya Pratap, for joining us. We just hope in days to come there won't be issues and concerns that are being raised at this point as a reality on the ground, but contours, political contours playing out very differently, particularly in certain pockets, including the Northeast. Thank you very much for joining us.